Hi, everyone. Welcome to our air quality presentation. My name is Sharon Quach. I'm the climate resilience educator here at Breed, California.
Hi, everyone. My name is Damini, and I'm an emerging community leader intern with Breed, California.
Has anyone here heard of Breed, California before? We are a local nonprofit based in San Jose since 1911. Our reach extends across in Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Benito, Santa Cruz, and Monterey counties. Our mission is to fight lung disease in all its forms, and we're working all over the Bay Area to protect lung health and air quality. Breed California offers an array of services, including clean air initiatives, asthma remediation, tobacco control, senior programs, lung health services, community education, advocacy programs, and research. I'll now be passing on to Dominique.
So before we get into our presentation today, we wanted to do an interactive activity with everyone to learn more about lung health and air quality. And so if you could use your phone to scan this QR code, and you can also use the link below to visit the website. It'll take you to a website called Poll EV, where you can plug in answers and chat with us essentially to answer the questions that we're going to have. So I'll also put that link in the chat right now. Okay. All right, so we can get into the activity. So the first question we have is, what do we call tiny particles in the air that can make it dirty or unhealthy to breathe? And so hopefully on the website right now, you should be able to see a text bar where you can type in an answer, and then we'll be able to share those answers out afterwards. And you can put multiple answers. It doesn't just have to be one.
We'll give everyone about a minute.
Any chance you could quickly show the QR code again?
So for anyone who just joined, we're doing an interactive activity right now where we're going to learn a little bit more about clean air and air quality and lung health. And so I'll put the link again in the chat. And if you go to that website, you can type in an answer for this first question. What do we call tiny particles in the air that can make it dirty or unhealthy to breathe?
Yeah, I can share the answers if everyone's ready. Okay, so the answers that we see here is particulate matter, air pollution, and particulate matter again. Is that right, Dominique?
Yep, these are perfect. So yeah, the answers would be air pollutants, particulate matter, or air pollution, like you guys said. And later we'll also talk more about these different types of pollutants. All right, so now we can get into our second question. So you can use that same exact link and just type in any of your thoughts or answers. So this question is going to be, what are some things that we can do to keep the air clean in our neighborhoods? So this is pretty open-ended. So any thoughts or ideas you have, you can type those in. And we'll just give you guys 1 minute to do that. Okay, I think we can go over the answer now. All right, so we can see use electric appliances, reduce the usage of gas vehicle transportation and substitute with bikes, scooters, walking, or taking the bus. Clean litter, drive less, avoid smoking.
Thank you everyone for answering question 2.
Yeah, so all of these answers are great. Like you guys said, carpooling, switching to electric vehicles or appliances, planting trees, walking, biking, and having no smoke zones. All of those are ways that we can keep our air clean in our neighborhoods. And we'll also go over this later in the presentation. All right, so our third question is, what can happen if we breathe in too much polluted air for too long? You guys can use that same QR code or the link to type in your answers.
I appear to be having trouble with the poll app.
Okay, what is it showing you by any chance? Does it?
It says that your presentation hasn't started yet.
Okay, I think we just have to activate it then.
I just activated again. Can someone try?
Okay, I think it should work now.
That worked. Thank you.
Should we look over the answers now? Death. Yep. So yeah, death, asthma, COPD, respiratory issues, lung cancer, irritability in the eyes or nose, difficulty breathing. Yep, lung cancer, COPD, asthma. Yep. Yep, so these are all great answers, and we'll also talk more about this later, but yeah, you guys are all right. And so we just have one more question before we get into the presentation. How can trees and plants help improve air quality? And then we'll just give 1 more minute for that. Okay, I think we can look at the answers now. Create shade to reduce the heat dome effect in urban areas. Yep. Exchange CO2 for O2, filter air pollutants, reduce air temperature, make oxygen and ingest carbon dioxide. Yep. So all of these are absolutely correct. Trees absorb harmful pollutants and greenhouse gases through their trees and bark and remove tons of pollutants every year. So yeah, thank you so much for participating in our activity. And now we'll get into the presentation.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. We'll be going over what is air quality, what is air pollution, outdoor and indoor pollution, air quality index, high risk groups and health effects, as well as discussion and Q&A. What is air quality? Air quality is the measure of how clean or polluted the air is in the environment. And there are several ways that air quality gets affected. Air quality changes with weather. Wind can move pollutants across short and long distances. Rain can sometimes remove pollutants from the air. Air quality can change with the location you're at, so physical geography can contain, move, and change air quality, whether you're by the ocean, in the mountains, or by the freeway. Air quality changes with human activity. This can look like when you're driving back home during rush hour, you're releasing more pollution during those times, as well as refineries increasing pollution during working and production hours. So what is pollution? The definition of pollution is any harmful substances that has been introduced to an environment. Pollution can be found in air, water, and soil. Air pollutants can be either gases or small particles. There are two air pollution types that we'll be talking about today, which are gases and particles. Gas pollution exists in form of gas or vapors. There's no set shape or volume, and these pollutants cannot be seen with our naked eye. Particle pollution is when really small bits float around in the air, and these bits can be different sizes and made up of different stuff, and they can come straight from the sources like cars and factories, or they can form like chemicals in the air. And these tiny particles can be things like dust, pollen, soot, or dirt.
So now we're going to talk about some outdoor air pollutants. So first, there are criteria air pollutants, which are common air pollutants that government agencies and the Clean Air Act regulate. And later, we'll look at 6 criteria air pollutants. There are also air toxics, which are toxic air pollutants or hazardous air pollutants, and these can cause cancer or other serious health effects. even reproductive effects, environmental effects, or ecological effects. And we'll look at a few air toxics on the next slides. And then there are also emerging pollutants, which are chemicals that have recently been identified to be dangerous to the environment and also to human health. And we will look at a couple emerging pollutants later. And finally, there are greenhouse gases, which are gases that can trap the heat of solar energy or sunlight in the Earth's atmosphere, which helps keep the planet warm, which is important for life on Earth. However, human activities like burning fossil fuels, cutting down trees, and other activities that we'll talk about can cause an excess amount of greenhouse gases to be released in our air. And then this causes the Earth to warm up even more, which is what we know as global warming and climate change. And so we'll also discuss that in the next few slides. So now we're going to look at those criteria air pollutants that we talked about, which are common and regulated by the government. So there's, first of all, CO2 or carbon dioxide, which we've all heard of before, which all living things release, but also it's released by human activities such as burning coal or oil or natural gas. CO2 is also a greenhouse gas that we were talking about, and so this also results in excess global warming and climate change. NO2 is another criteria air pollutant, also known as nitrogen dioxide. And the main source of NO2 is from human activities such as burning fossil fuels, and especially in fuel that's used in cars. When we breathe high concentrations of NO2, this can irritate our respiratory system. And especially in children, this could lead to respiratory infections and even poorer lung function later in life. The third criteria air pollutant is PM 2.5. PM stands for particulate matter, which is what we discussed earlier during our interactive activity. And 2.5 stands for basically the size of that particulate matter. And so these are very tiny particles of dust or pollutants that can come from fuel burning, fireplaces, or even sea spray. And these can enter the lungs or bloodstream because of how small they are and cause different respiratory or cardiovascular issues. The fourth criteria air pollutant is SO3, and this is formed when oxygen reacts with sulfur dioxide that is released during coal, oil, or gas burning. Exposure to SO3 can cause skin and eye irritation, dizziness, nausea, and also an increased risk of cancer. O3, also known as ozone, is formed in the atmosphere through chemical reactions between pollutants, which are released from vehicles or factories, fossil fuels, consumer products, and many other sources. And it is actually the main component of smog, which is something that we see when there's a lot of traffic or a lot of congestion on the roads. Ozone can irritate the respiratory system and is also bad for the environment. And then finally, the last criteria air pollutant is PB, or also known as lead. And lead is found in all different aspects of the environment, including the air, the soil, the water, and even inside of our homes. And lead exposure can result in cardiovascular effects, neurological damage, especially in children, and even fertility problems. So on the next slide, so now we're going to look at those air toxics, which, as we discussed earlier, are hazardous and can cause different cancers or health effects. So here on the slide are listed a bunch of different air toxics, and these chemicals can come from natural causes like wildfires, but they can also come from human activities like using cars, trucks, buses, factories, power plants, or even indoor sources like building materials or cleaning solvents. So now we're going to look at some emerging pollutants, which again are chemicals that have been recently identified as dangerous to the environment or to human health. Black carbon is a black material that is emitted from gas or diesel engines. also from coal power plants and other sources that burn fossil fuels. And ultrafine particulate matter is matter which is even smaller than the PM 2.5 we were talking about earlier. And so these fine particles are even more damaging as they can enter our lung tissue or our bloodstream and cause health effects. And finally, we're going to look at different types of greenhouse gases, which again can trap heat from the sun and warm the planet. But if there are too many greenhouse gases being released in the air, this results in global warming and climate change. And so the main greenhouse gases listed on this slide are CO2, CH4, which is known as methane, N2O, which is nitrous oxide, and fluorine, or F gases. And so methane and N2O come from livestock or agriculture, landfill waste, industrial processes, or even burning fossil fuels. And fluorine gases, or F gases, can actually come from air conditioning, refrigeration, heat pumps, and aerosol sprays. And recent studies have actually showed that F gases can trap more heat than CO2, which makes it even more important to focus on in terms of global warming potential.
All right, thank you, Damini. Now we're going to go over indoor air pollution and outdoor air pollution. So indoor air pollution stems from various sources such as cooking, heating, smoking, the cleaning products you use, building materials, and furniture. The pollutants that Damini mentioned before that you might see is carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, volatile organic compounds, particulate matter, mold, and allergens. And long exposure to these pollutants can result in respiratory diseases, cardiovascular issues, allergies, as well as other health issues. 90% of our time is spent indoors, so it is important to take control over our indoor spaces and improve our indoor air quality. As for outdoor air pollution, it's mainly from industrial activities such as vehicle emissions, construction, farming, dust, and wildfires. The toxins that are included are nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, as heavy metals. Breathing in these pollutants can lead to respiratory and cardiovascular disease, lung cancer, premature death, and worsened asthma. Here are some indoor air pollution sources. Can I have a few volunteers name what they see here? Go ahead and unmute and just name whichever source that you want.
Mold.
Perfect, thank you. Next.
Like bleach. And
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
cigarette smoking.
Yes. Okay, anyone else?
Natural gas stove.
Perfect, thank you. All right, on to the next slide. So here are some examples of outdoor air pollutants. Can I have some more volunteers tell me what they see here and how is this causing pollution?
Forest fires.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Dust.
Yes.
Plant emissions.
Yes. Okay, we'll be going on to the next slide. So this is an example of an air quality index. This is used to indicate the level of pollution that's outside and in the air. And it also ranges from 0 to 500. So it categorizes air quality into levels like good, moderate, unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous. So this is a very easy and colorful way to identify what the air quality is for today. And by monitoring these AQI levels, authorities provide guidance to protect public health, advising actions such as limiting outdoor activities during high pollution periods, during like wildfires or smog, and taking precautions for any vulnerable groups. And here's a chart that's more specific. So green means that the air is good and it's clean and safe to go outside. Air pollution poses little or no risk. Yellow means that it's moderate, meaning the air quality is okay, but it's not perfect. There's risk for some people, but it's just particularly for those who are unusually sensitive to air pollution. Orange means unhealthy for sensitive groups, so those who are sensitive should stay indoors. The general public is unlikely to be affected. And the color for red means that it's unhealthy, where everyone might feel sick, especially those who are most vulnerable with health problems. Purple means very unhealthy, warning that everyone could get sick. And maroon means hazardous, which is dangerous for everyone.
So on this slide, we can see various high-risk groups or groups which are more susceptible to health effects of air pollution. So the groups are children and teenagers, elderly over 65, low-income communities, people who spend a lot of time outdoors, people who may live near high-traffic roads or freeways, folks with respiratory illnesses or prior asthma or lung disease, and also people with cardiovascular disease. So here are some health effects of long-term air pollution exposure. It can include nausea, dizziness, headaches, chest pain. It could also include irritation of the eyes, nose, or throat. It could include difficulty breathing or decreased lung function. It could also increase the likelihood of heart attacks or also cause other cardiovascular diseases. And it could also decrease life expectancy. Some of the specific lung diseases that are caused from long-term exposure to air pollution can include asthma, COPD, and other lung diseases. Asthma is a chronic lung infection, and it's caused usually by irritation from different pollutants. And symptoms can include coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, or chest tightness. COPD is a chronic inflammatory lung disease. It stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And essentially, airways are constricted, which causes difficulty in breathing and can result in shortness of breath, lung infections, and wheezing. Other lung diseases include lung cancer, cardiovascular disease, lung infections or pneumonia, bronchitis, or even pulmonary fibrosis.
Now we're going to go over how does air quality affect environmental justice. So health disparities show that air pollution disproportionately affect low-income and minority communities. Industrial pollution addresses the uneven distribution of industrial facilities and pollution sources, which can disproportionately impact communities based on factors like income and race. When you see the location of industrial facilities, where is it usually located at? In neighborhoods that are unfortunately low income and are not able to have lower air quality. Climate change impacts show how examining climate change and how it uniquely affects vulnerable communities through events like extreme weather, rising sea levels, and temperature shifts. So climate change, unfortunately, will affect those who do not have the resources to survive through these extreme events. Environmental health shows how studying environmental factors like exposure to toxins and pollutants can impact the health of vulnerable populations.
So given all of this information, there are still ways that you could help improve air quality with the actions that you take. For example, you could switch to electric appliances, and even then you could use those electric appliances less often or determine what times during the day to use them. You could also use public transportation. You could carpool with friends or family. You could even turn off the lights when they're not in use to save energy, or you could also walk, ride a bike, or skateboard in your neighborhood. There are also ways that you could improve your indoor air quality, such as using an air purifier. You could make sure to keep your ventilation systems clean. You could also switch to an induction cooktop rather than using a gas stove. You could also bring plants into your home to keep the air clean and, recycle or cycle out that CO2 and those harmful pollutants that might be in there. And then also you could remember to dust regularly in your house to get rid of those allergens or other pollutants which may be there.
Another resource we're sharing today is the Spare the Air Alert. This is through the Air District, and this is used to help inform residents about current air quality in the Bay Area. When a Spare the Air Alert has been issued for your area, is saying that you should consider limiting any outdoor activities so you are limited from any air pollution that's going on. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any questions at all?
I do want to just mention, sorry, I'm trying to get myself back on video. I'm not sure why it's gone, but we'll just, but I do want to mention that the library has induction cooktops that you can borrow in order to give them a try. So it's something that you can check out with your library card at any of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. And that's been made available by a partnership with the city of Santa Cruz. And so I encourage our folks on the call here to give that a try. You'll probably have to wait a while for them because we just have a few, but that's just one of the many items, actual physical things you can check out with your library card.
That's awesome. I haven't heard of that being done before, but that's a really great initiative that you guys have.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm not sure if San Jose Public Libraries also do it. Any other question?
I also put the link for the Spare the Air alerts. If anyone's interested, you can go to that website and sign up for that.
Well, on behalf of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries, I would like to thank you so much for coming and doing this awesome presentation for us. I'll let folks have maybe some last minute questions. You could just unmute yourself and start talking, or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you, or you can pop it in the chat. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. And so this has been part of our summer reading program, and the theme for this summer is Read, Renew, Repeat, and that is related to recycling and renewable energy and climate and just trying to make things better for the future. So thank you folks for all the work you do at Breathe California. And not seeing any more questions, so I guess we'll call it a wrap.
Thank you so much, Diane, for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.